right, let's get a check on our major forex earner now. See oil prices climb more than dollar, regaining some of last week's losses, helped by the prospect of more sanctions on Russian crude after an overnight strike in Ukraine. OPEC Plus flagged plans to further increase production from October, but the amount was modest. Both benchmarks fell more than 2%. That was last week Friday's weak U.S. jobs report. That dimmed the outlook for energy demand. It lost more than 3%. That's for the week. But we're starting off this week now with some strength. We'll see if that continues. 1.77% rise this morning. That's for Brent crude at $66. That's like 666. Wow, interesting. And WTI crude, $62.98 a barrel, a big 1.79%. We'll see if that continues later on into the afternoon trade. All right, that takes us into another conversation now. The recent standoff between Dangote Group and the Petroleum Workers Union has once again brought the intersection of labor rights, industrial growth, and market competitiveness into sharp focus. At the heart of the matter are concerns over unionization, fair labor practices, and the wider implications for Nigeria's industrial landscape, with the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria positioned as a key voice in shaping policy there. But let's look at the position of some of the stakeholders there with the standoff. We see NUPENG initiated the indefinite strike. They're protesting anti-union hiring policies and wage issues. NLC fully supports NUPENG, mobilizing affiliates and calls for governmental intervention. The federal government is calling for dialogue. Scheduled conciliation meeting for today. DTCDA rejected by NUPENG as a ploy to divide the workforce. Then IPMAN, one zone sides with NUPENG, and they see the national leadership there opposing the strike. All right, let's see how we can balance this conversation now. Joining us for this, we have Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadri, the Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Great to have you on the show, sir. Good morning. All right, before we get into the conversation now, I know you're at the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, IATF 2025. That's underway in Algiers, and you're present at the event. What's been your experience so far? Before you respond, try to unmute.
Okay, yes, I think I've done so.
Yes, fantastic. I can hear you now.
Okay, yes, thank you very much again for having me on your show. Here in Algiers, I think we are witnessing what appears to be a resurgence in the commitment of Africans, businessmen and government and ordinary people, that the best way for Africa to prosper is for us to do business together, to connect with each other.
Good morning. Yes, sir.
And to ensure that we do all that is needed to break down the binding constraints that has limited our general trade. We have seen enthusiasm amongst most Africans. The president of Algeria was here. African leaders, including our own former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, were here, all expressing the sentiments that it is important for Africa to come together, produce what we consume what we produce, do business together, grow together, and ensure that we are able to use business to advance integration and the overall well-being of the average African. So the mood here is high. Nigerians are fully represented here. Yesterday, we had a business meeting with our Algerian counterparts, where we agreed on what needed to be done to break down the logistics constraints, to build cross-border value chain, for us to do joint ventures. We identified business areas where we could connect our members and generally ensure that we narrow down the constraints that has limited our capacity to integrate and trade amongst ourselves.
All right, let's, definitely we'll be looking forward to more information coming out from Algiers, and you'll see how Africa can trade with Africa more. But let's get straight into the conversation now. Definitely, we've seen threats, at this point, and I'm sure consumers are getting jittery, at this point, what's playing out in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. We're seeing Nupeng there. They have demands. We're seeing the Dangote Refinery trying to do business. As the Director General of MAN, how do you assess, what Nupeng is asking for, at this point, and, saying that Dangote's stance is has an anti-union recruitment policy? How do you see all of this, playing out, right now? And, definitely when we see the elephants fighting, it almost seems like, the grass will suffer, and we might see the impact, of fuel prices. How are you seeing the whole situation play out today?
Yes, thank you very much. This is a very worrisome development. And you did say that when 2 elephants fight, the grass suffers. Incidentally, the grass is 230 million people whose livelihoods are at stake, and a lot of businesses that have to rely on the uninterrupted flow of petroleum products. I believe that even here in Nigeria, it is a concern, because when we had the news, we were saying not again, that now that we are achieving some reasonable stability, the macroeconomic indicators are looking right, stabilizing, and now we are going to have this major disruption that may just upturn all that we have achieved. Incidentally, it was only, I think, 2 days ago that we had the Dangote Day at the Algiers, Safex in Algiers, and a lot of people were full of praises for this daring African who has invested so much and who is bringing relief and economic development, not only to his country, but to Africa. So to now hear that there's going to be, first and foremost, that there's a disagreement between the refinery and the labor union, and also that there's going to be a national strike that is going to disrupt the flow of activities in the petroleum sector, is a very worrying development. My members have also called to say that, look, I mean, we are just managing to operate at about 57% of our installed capacity, and we have entered the second part of the year. All that we are looking forward to is that we are able to recoup the losses that we have made. We are hoping to be able to overcome the logistics disruption that accompanied the situation at the ports. So if this one should join, then our outlook for the second half of the year is going to be perilous. And so that's why everything must be done by government, by the stakeholders, to ensure that this strike is not only averted, but that we do not have either this one or any kind of disruption in this second half of the year. Concerning the anti-labor practices, the little I know about this is the fact that everybody has the right to join or not to join the union. And I believe that the union is a democratic institution. Wherever you want somebody to join, and that's what happens in my organization, you need to persuade them, for instance, to be able to join your organization. I mean, so that they are able to prefer you to any other organization, or to get them to join rather than refusing to join. So I think those are the conversations that we should have. And we should not always hurry to embark on strike, because the grass that we suffer is the entire Nigerian economy and its people. So, but happily, we are able to hear, we heard that the federal government, I think later in the day today, will try to bring the two of them together, and they will have a conversation. I believe that reason should prevail. We shouldn't shoot down this business that has changed the game in the petroleum sector, and is looking forward to putting behind us the issue of fuel scarcity. I think in September last year, I've not heard about any scarcity, and it's thanks to the emergence of the Dangote Refinery. So I think we should be very mindful of those, and Nigerians should prevail on Nupeng and the affiliates to allow reason to come into play here.
Right, and definitely we don't want any fuel scarcity, at this point, because we know how that has this domino effect. You see traffic, everywhere, and customers will have to pay more, for fuel prices. So we hope this is sorted out as soon as possible. But before I let you go now, do you believe the manufacturing sector, should follow a collective, standard on unionization, especially when labor conditions, in one major firm like the Dangote Refinery could influence others?
Okay, even though the question was a bit distorted on my side, but I guess what you are saying is what we feel about unionization in the manufacturing space, if that's
right,
what you
yes.
asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I think is that it's the right of every worker to join in an association, in a union. And I believe that the union leaders have a very important role to play in protecting the rights of their members, their workers. But it is also very important to do that within the context of the law. I don't think it's right for you to compel anyone to join your union. And at the same time, there should be dialogue in case you have situations where you have disagreement with employers. At the end of the day, and from what I know about the Dangote Group in this instance, I know that they pay way above the minimum wage. I also know that they have HMO for their staff. I know that they are well trained, and that they also are mindful of their conditions. I mean, that much I know because Dangote Industries Limited is our member, and we do benchmark what happens in the industry to be able to know who is, because it's in the interest of every employer for their workers to be well treated. And you will imagine that Dangote, that has more than 10,000 trucks that will be moving on the way, it will not be wise for you not to treat your staff well, because you can just start recording losses in terms of the tankers and so on. So it's in a relative self-interest to do so. And we do strongly believe that the company, just like many other companies in my association that have truck, always do to their staff. So I think dialogue is important. Collective bargaining is key to industrial development, but it must be done within the confines of the law. And it's in the workers' interest also that there's no disruptions, because workers have families and we are all Nigerians. So I believe that the labor union, NUPEN, NLC, and all other unions should be able to close ranks on this one, and ensure that this fragile stability that we have is not undermined. I mean, we have 4 months or so to the end of the year, and everybody agrees that our businesses have not done very well. The federal government has done its bit and should sustain this stability and move us to growth and progress. So we, the people, should not do anything to disrupt this process. And this could be a very dangerous trend if we do not check it at this time.
All right, thank you so much, sir. We do hope for a win-win situation for everyone at this point. Thank you, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadri, is the Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me. All the best.